They did the treatment and they waited. They prayed and they waited. My mother said it was the longest, most grueling 3 weeks of her life. And the doctor came to my mom after 3 weeks and said, there's no medical explanation, there's no scientific explanation. I'm no religious man, but somebody didn't want your son to die. We know what it was.
Courtney?
God wasn't finished with Austin. He had just started. He wasn't finished. He had bigger plans, and we were able to bring him home. But the struggle wasn't over yet. It had just started. You know, as Austin would develop, we noticed that there were delays in his development. He wouldn't do things like other children his age were doing. He had his first seizure. So that's when he was labeled with cerebral palsy because of the brain damage as well as autism. Oftentimes people meet me and my family with pity. You know, we're so sorry for what you all have to go through, with what you have to deal with. You know, that has to be so hard. And living with someone like Austin in your life, you realize it's quite the contrary. That it was a blessing God chose our family to give this very special angel to. I am the person I am today because of the things that Austin has taught me. And one of those things is to be determined. According to society, if we look at society's measurements of success, Austin is not successful and will never be successful. He'll never go to college. He'll never get a doctorate. He'll never get a job. He'll never read or write, never drive a car, never make millions of dollars. So according to society, he is not successful. However, you cannot look at him today knowing where he started and say that he is not successful. For Austin, some days buttoning his pants is as if he were walking across the stage getting a doctorate. Every person has their own milestones. Each and every one of you have your own gifts and talents. Don't run somebody else's race. You be determined with your gifts and your abilities and your journey, and know that your milestones are important to you. Don't compare them to somebody else's. Don't let your circumstances define you. You know, my family in Austin could have looked at their situation with complete and utter hopelessness and said, why bother? It didn't go the way we wanted it to. There's no hope. None of the doctors believed in it.
I'm shaking.
Oh well. But they didn't. They saw one chapter closing and another door opening. In your life, you are going to try so hard for things, and they're not going to happen, but it doesn't mean you failed. No. Don't allow that to define you. Where you come from, the difficulties of your background, coming from Pamplin, I didn't let that define me. Don't let those things define or limit your possibilities. Don't lose hope and never give up. For Austin, it was a long journey for him to be able to even walk. They said he'd be a vegetable, he'd never walk, he'd never talk, he wouldn't amount to anything. Well, boy, were they wrong. Austin not only walks, he runs in Special Olympics events each year. He very clearly communicates what he does and does not want on a daily basis. And he is anything but a vegetable. He didn't give up. Though it was painful, though it was hard, though people around him didn't believe in him, we did, and he didn't give up. And I hope that inspires you to know that you will be successful in trying and to not be discouraged or defined by your circumstances. I'd like to share with you a little story of an experience I had as Miss Virginia. I traveled to a place called the Arc of Greater Richmond. It provides opportunities for individuals with disabilities. And one of their opportunities is employment for individuals and adults with special needs. So I went to the intellectually lower functioning group. They're my favorite. They're the most beautiful people you'll ever meet. And I walked into this room of adults. They're severely disabled. And on the wall, they had a sign that they had made for me, and it was a picture of Virginia. It was very simple. It said, "Welcome, Miss Virginia," and had their handprints and their names all over it. Well, me, being the sap that I am, I fell apart and started crying. And you may think, why would you cry? It's just a sign. What's the big deal? Some markers and paper. And for my brother and I, my younger brother Ryan and I, and for some of you, to write your name or to stencil out your hand takes 2 seconds. It's nothing. But for those people, that was all the energy that they could exert for the day. It may have taken them 2 hours to draw their hand, and they used that focus and that determination to give a gift to me. And I look at that sign and I'm humbled, and I remember your journey is your own. Your milestones are going to be different than other people. But to have those milestones and know that you are successful on your journey. Don't compare yourself to other people's paths. The only true failure in life is a failure of not trying. So I hope that encourages you. When you want to give up, when you're at the end of your path, think of today. Because 18 years ago they said, he won't walk, he won't run. And today he will walk this stage with you successful. As many of you will, successful, having overcome so many obstacles. So be determined, whatever life brings you. The final D that I'd like to share with you all today, we're wrapping it up. Do you. Do you. That means, like we said earlier, everyone's path is unique. Do not conform. Steve Jobs, he was an American entrepreneur, the co-founder, chairman, and CEO of Apple Incorporated. You know, the Apple, iPhone, Macs. He started all of it. And he says something so remarkable. He says, your time is limited. So do not waste it living someone else's life. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and your intuition. One of the most successful men in his field started, and people thought he was crazy. But he dreamed big, and he was determined, and he made his own path. I encourage you as you go forward to do that.